There are foods on your plate right now that are not just feeding your body, but feeding your enemies. These are not ordinary meals. Witches, manipulators, and dark forces know the hidden power behind them. What you eat can either shield you or weaken your spirit. Today, I will reveal the 7 foods witches use to attack you, foods that silently drain your energy, open spiritual doors, and invite negativity into your life. If you truly value your destiny, stop eating them now before it's too late. When we talk about food, most people only think about taste, about filling the stomach, or maybe even about nutrition. But food is far more than calories, protein, or vitamins. Food is energy. Every bite you take carries a frequency, a vibration that enters your system and begins shaping how you feel, how you think, and even how you act. This is something witches and those who practice manipulation fully understand. They know that when they cannot reach you through words or actions, they can reach you through what you consume. Because the body is the temple, and what you allow into the temple will either strengthen its walls or weaken them. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how after eating certain foods, you feel heavy, sluggish, and drained? It's not just your digestion. That is the vibration of the food pulling down your energy, lowering your alertness, making you spiritually dull. And when you are spiritually dull, you are easy to influence. Witches thrive on that weakness. They know if your energy is low, your mind will wander, your emotions will become unstable, and your protection will drop. On the other hand, when you eat clean living, natural foods, your energy rises. You feel lighter, sharper, more awake. This is not only physical, it is spiritual. Fresh fruits, vegetables, pure water, simple grains. These carry a high frequency because they come directly from nature. They were created to nourish, not to enslave. Witches avoid these because they cannot easily manipulate someone who is alert and glowing from the inside. But they encourage foods that are processed, artificial, dead. Foods that have been stripped of life. Because when you consume lifeless food, your own life force weakens. It is no accident that dark rituals often involve the preparation of food. The act of cooking itself can transfer intention into what you eat. Imagine a meal made with anger, jealousy, or hatred. Even if the ingredients are fresh, the vibration behind it will harm you. In the same way, if a meal is prepared with prayer, gratitude, and blessing, it can strengthen your spirit. Witches use this principle against people, turning food into a hidden weapon. They understand something most people overlook: the body can only perform with the fuel it is given, and the wrong fuel creates confusion and imbalance. When your energy is out of balance, you cannot think clearly, you cannot pray deeply, you cannot sense danger in time. This is why certain foods are constantly pushed into your life, through advertising, through habits, through temptation. It is not simply about taste. It is about lowering your vibration until you no longer resist what is being done to you. That is the real battlefield, not outside, but inside your body. So when I say food is energy, I mean it in the most literal sense. If you are careless about what you eat, you are careless about your destiny. Protect your energy by protecting your plate. One of the greatest tools witches and manipulators use against people is addiction. And one of the easiest ways to create addiction is through food. Think about how many people cannot go a single day without sugar, without processed snacks, without caffeine or artificial flavoring. These foods are not just designed to taste good, they are engineered to control you. When you are addicted to something, you are no longer free. Your body begins to crave it, your mind becomes restless without it, and your emotions get tied to its presence. This constant cycle of craving and satisfaction keeps you distracted, weak, and unaware. Sugar is the perfect example. It gives a quick burst of energy followed by a sharp crash. In that crash, your mind is foggy, your spirit is tired, and your emotions are unstable. In those moments of weakness, dark influences can easily plant thoughts, amplify fears, or push you into decisions you later regret. Witches know that a person bound by craving cannot resist temptation, because the addiction itself has already taught the body to obey without question. When the food calls, you respond. When the sugar speaks, you listen. That same pattern becomes the door for manipulation on a much deeper level. Processed foods, full of chemicals and artificial ingredients, are another weapon. They taste satisfying, but they have no life in them, and yet the body becomes hooked. Why? Because these foods are designed to stimulate, not to nourish. You eat, but you are never full. You consume, but you are never satisfied. So the cycle continues, more and more, but never enough. In this endless hunger, your energy is drained, your focus is lost, and your willpower fades. A tired, distracted person cannot fight spiritual battles. A restless, addicted person cannot pray with clarity. Addiction foods do not only affect your body, they cloud your mind. They make it harder to think, harder to concentrate, harder to stay disciplined. And without discipline, you lose control of your choices. This is exactly what witches want. They do not always need to attack directly. If they can simply weaken your discipline, they can wait for you to destroy yourself through your own cravings. The food becomes the leash, and you become the one willingly tied to it. But the danger goes even deeper. Every addiction creates dependency, and dependency breeds fear. Fear of not having what you crave, fear of facing discomfort, fear of change. And fear is the opposite of spiritual strength. Fear makes you a prisoner inside your own body. That is why the foods most widely consumed today are addictive. It is not random, it is intentional. When a population is hooked on unhealthy, low, vibrational food, that population is easier to control. The truth is simple. If you cannot say no to what is on your plate, how will you say no to the spiritual traps laid out before you? When it comes to meat, most people only think in terms of taste, nutrition, or culture. But there is a dimension of food that goes much deeper than what the eye can see. Meat carries memory. It carries the energy of the animal, the conditions it lived in, and even the intention behind its death. When you eat it, all of that enters you. This is why witches and dark practitioners often use meat as a tool in rituals. They understand that consuming flesh is not only physical, it is spiritual. Imagine an animal raised in suffering, living in fear, and dying in violence. That energy of fear and trauma does not disappear. It lingers in the flesh. And when you eat it, you take that vibration into yourself. Suddenly you feel restless, angry, anxious, without knowing why. Your spirit is absorbing the fear embedded in the food. Witches know this. They use it as a hidden weapon. They know a fearful and restless spirit is easy to manipulate. But there is something even darker. In many rituals, animals are sacrificed with specific intention. When their blood is spilled, it is not only death that is created, it is an offering. That offering ties the meat to a negative spiritual force. Anyone who consumes it unknowingly is sharing in that connection. You are not just eating protein. You are eating an agreement. And that agreement can follow you, weaken you, and invite influences into your life that you never asked for. This is why in many traditions, the preparation of meat was done with prayer, blessing, and respect. Because the ancients understood the spirit of the food enters the spirit of the person. Remove the blessing, and you leave the doorway wide open. It is also important to see how overconsumption of meat affects the body. Heavy, dense foods make the body sluggish, tired, and weighed down. When the body is heavy, the mind is heavy. And when the mind is heavy, the spirit cannot rise. Witches encourage this imbalance because a spirit that cannot rise cannot resist. You become trapped in survival mode, eating, sleeping, working, never lifting your awareness beyond the physical. That is exactly where they want you. There are even stories of meals deliberately prepared with cursed meat, meat infused with intentions of jealousy, hatred, or revenge. A person may sit down to eat, thinking it is just food, but in truth they are swallowing a curse. This is why discernment is so important. Not every meal given to you is a blessing. Some are traps in disguise. And the trap works because most people never stop to ask, what energy am I truly putting into my body? So when I say be careful with the meat you eat, it is not superstition. It is awareness. Your body is sacred. What you allow into it shapes your emotions, your thoughts, and your destiny. If the food carries darkness, then unknowingly, you carry that darkness too. There are certain foods that carry a hidden danger, not because of what they are, but because of what they become. When food is left to spoil, to rot, or to ferment in darkness, its vibration changes. It no longer gives life, it begins to attract decay. And wherever there is decay, there is an opening for darker energies to enter. Witches and those who work with negative forces know this well. They use spoiled or fermented substances in rituals because such foods become magnets for spirits that do not belong in your life. Think of it this way. Fresh food nourishes. It uplifts the body and strengthens the mind. But spoiled food that has lost its purity, no longer supports life. It begins to break it down. That is why when you eat something rotten, your body reacts with sickness, vomiting, weakness. The body is wise, it is trying to expel what does not serve it. In the spiritual sense, the same thing happens. Rotten or spoiled food opens a door to sickness in the soul. It invites heaviness, depression, confusion, and sometimes even strange disturbances around you. Fermented foods can be even more dangerous. Now, I do not mean every form of natural fermentation, because some are part of cultural traditions. I mean the kind of fermentation used intentionally in dark practices. When food is left in hidden places to rot, When it is mixed with strange ingredients and sealed away, it is not simply decaying, it is being prepared. Prepared as a spiritual tool, as a vehicle for carrying intention. And when that intention is dark, whoever eats it unknowingly receives not just food, but a curse. There are stories in many cultures of people being attacked not through direct spells, but through the meals they ate. A piece of bread left to mold, a drink fermented with harmful intentions, a dish left uncovered so that unseen forces could touch it before being served. Once consumed, the person felt drained, restless, or plagued by unexplainable problems. Was it the food itself, or was it the vibration the food carried? This is the level of awareness witches operate on. They know that when you are careless with what you eat, you give them easy access to your inner world. And this is why discipline is so important. Pay attention to what you put into your body. Do not eat food that has lost its life force. Do not accept meals from people you do not trust. Do not ignore the signs when something feels off about what is placed before you. Because food is more than a physical substance, it is a doorway. That doorway can either protect you or expose you. It can either keep spirits away or invite them into your home. What spoils in the dark will always carry the dark, and if you consume it, the dark will consume you. Some foods are not dangerous because of their taste, or because of how they affect the body, but because of how they are used symbolically in the spiritual world. Witches and practitioners of dark rituals often rely on items that seem simple, harmless, and even essential in daily life. Eggs, milk, grains, salt, things you may find in your own kitchen, can become powerful tools when used with the wrong intention. And this is where the danger lies. You might eat them casually, without knowing that these very foods are the same ones used in rituals to bind, to confuse, and to attack. Take eggs for example. In many cultures, eggs symbolize life, creation, and new beginnings. That is why witches also use them. The same symbol of life can be twisted into a tool of destruction. Eggs are placed in rituals to trap energy, to absorb it, and to carry curses. Imagine eating something that has already been marked with such intention. You are not only eating food, you are eating a spell. This is why in certain traditions, people are warned to be careful when eggs appear suddenly around their home or offered in meals from unknown sources. Milk too is not as innocent as it appears. Spiritually, milk has long been a symbol of purity and nurturing, but in dark practices it can be used to blur clarity, to cloud vision, to weaken the spirit. When prepared with hidden intentions, milk can bind the person who drinks it, leaving them confused, easily manipulated, or drained of energy. What was once meant to nourish now becomes a silent poison. Grains and flour, the staple of bread, are also common in rituals. They represent provision, abundance, and the foundation of life. But witches use them in reverse. By tampering with grains, by dedicating them in rituals, they can symbolically cut off abundance, cause scarcity, or create obstacles in someone's path. Imagine eating bread that was prayed over, not with blessings, but with curses. Each bite becomes a seed planted into your life, but instead of growing fruit, it grows problems. Even salt, known as a purifier, can be used in both directions. When blessed and handled with respect, it can protect and cleanse. But when twisted with dark intention, it can be used to block progress, to separate relationships, to cause isolation. Witches understand the dual nature of these foods. The same object can bring light or darkness, depending on how it is used. This is why discernment is everything. You cannot simply look at food and assume it is safe. You must feel its energy, trust your intuition, and be cautious about what and where you eat. Because food is more than taste. It is a symbol, a vessel, and a carrier of energy. And when that symbol has been corrupted, when that vessel has been filled with darkness, the one who eats it unknowingly swallows chains. If you are careless with symbols, you are careless with your own spirit. When you begin to see food as energy, as vibration, as a carrier of intention, you realize that your choices are never small. Every plate you accept, every bite you take, is either weakening you or strengthening you. And this is why conscious eating becomes your armor. When you eat with awareness, when you choose with clarity, you are not just nourishing your body, you are building spiritual protection. Witches thrive on people who live carelessly, who eat anything placed before them, who never stop to ask where their food comes from or how it was prepared. Carelessness is the opening they need. But when you live with discipline, that opening closes. Conscious eating is not about fear, it is about alignment. You align your body with foods that carry life, purity, and strength. You align your mind with clarity instead of confusion. And as you do this, your spirit rises. You become sharper, more resistant, more alert to what is moving around you. Imagine two warriors standing side by side. One is weighed down by heavy, toxic, and addictive food, his energy low and his focus scattered. The other has fueled himself with clean, living foods, his energy strong, his focus sharp, his awareness unshaken. Which one will win in the unseen battles of life? The answer is clear. Witches know that people rarely make the connection between what they eat and what they experience spiritually. They know that if they can keep you consuming foods tied to addiction, decay, or dark rituals, they don't even need to attack you directly. You will be attacking yourself without realizing it. You will be living in constant cycles of fatigue, confusion, anger, and weakness. But when you take back control of your plate, when you consciously reject the foods that lower your vibration, you also reject their influence. You take back your energy, your clarity, your freedom. This discipline also builds inner willpower. Every time you say no to food that doesn't serve you, you are training your spirit to say no in bigger battles. You are strengthening your ability to resist temptation, to stand firm against pressure, to recognize manipulation before it takes root. Food becomes the training ground for your spiritual armor. What looks like a simple choice at the table is actually preparation for the larger choices of life. And there is a hidden blessing in this path. When you eat consciously, your body begins to heal, your mind becomes lighter, your emotions more balanced, your sleep more restful, your thoughts more focused. This clarity itself is protection. Because confusion is the weapon of witches, but clarity, awareness, and inner strength are the weapons of the awakened.